Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja, coming up in the next 30 minutes. First day of Parliament's monsoon session witnesses repeated disruptions. India's Civil Aviation Minister slams Western media over Air India crash narratives, urges all to wait for the final report. At least 19 killed following Bangladesh Air Force plane disaster. China-made Chengdu J7 F7 crashes into a college campus. Russia says it favors new round of peace talks with Ukraine, but downplays the chances of a breakthrough. Kremlin doesn't rule out a Putin-Trump meeting at Beijing in September. And another historic mission set to transform Earth observation. ISRO to launch NISAR, a joint satellite with NASA, on 30th of July at 1740 hours Indian Standard Time. First news from Bangladesh. At least 19 people were killed and over 150 injured as a Bangladesh Air Force training aircraft crashed in a college campus in Dhaka. The jet belonged to China's Chengdu J7 F7 aircraft family. The pilot of the aircraft was also killed after the Bangladesh Air Force F7 BGI training aircraft crashed inside Milestone College compound on Monday afternoon at around 1:30 p.m. local time. 3 firefighting units were dispatched to the scene. A senior official at Hazrat Shah Jalal International Airport also confirmed the incident but did not provide immediate details regarding the casualties or the cause of the crash. The Bangladesh government has declared a one-day state mourning following the incident. Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba said on Monday that he needed to continue in office after his ruling coalition suffered defeat in upper house elections. Ishiba told a news conference that he would remain in office to oversee tariff talks with the United States and other pressing matters such as rising consumer prices. Ishiba offered his apologies after his coalition's loss.
I am not currently thinking of a deadline of when I will continue till. As I mentioned earlier, we will do our utmost to find a way to resolve imminent issues such as the US tariff measures, rising prices, natural disasters that could happen tomorrow, and the most complex and challenging security environment of the post-war era.
Japan's ruling coalition has lost its majority after the far-right Sansieto party emerged as one of the biggest winners in Japan's upper house election on Sunday. The party won 14 seats and second placed was the Constitutional Democratic Party of Japan, which won 22 of those being contested, followed by the Democratic Party for the People with 17 seats. Sansieto wants stricter rules and limits on immigration, opposes radical gender policies, and wants a rethink on decarbonization and vaccines. The Japan government has lost its control as Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba weakened his grip on power with the opposition's tough talk on immigration grabbing the nation's attention. Many nations want change in their immigration policies, citing rise in consumer prices and leading to a spike in criminal activities as well. Has a report on anti-immigration clashes around the world.
In the United Kingdom, new anti-migrant clashes erupted in London on Sunday outside a hotel housing asylum seekers. Rioters threw bottles and smoke bombs at the police. Early on Thursday, 8 police officers were wounded in clashes. Several demonstrations were held in the Epping town after police charged an asylum seeker with sex offences. The country also witnessed anti-immigration riots a year ago in the wake of the fatal stabbings of 3 young girls in the northern town of Southport. Immigration has become a top concern for UK voters as Prime Minister Keir Starmer published a white paper policy document calling for changes to make it harder to settle in the UK. Recently, Spain witnessed unrest in Torre Pacheco town after migrants attacked a 68-year-old Spaniard. Riot police patrolled the streets to curb protest and clashes between the Spaniards and North African migrants. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez defended immigration citing economic benefits and has accused Conservative Party Vox of inciting clashes. In return, Vox leader Santiago Abascal said the government's migration policies were to blame. Anti-immigration protesters were organized by far-right Confederation Party in Poland's Warsaw on Saturday. Participants shouting slogans of "Stop Immigration" took part in demonstrations held in more than 80 Polish cities. They demanded the closure of the borders with Lithuania, Ukraine, Belarus and Slovakia.
I came here to show that we want peace in our country, that we have been an open country for many years. In fact, we Poles were refugees and immigrants to other countries for decades, even hundreds of years. So, I think now we should repay that by acting the same way.
With recent timeline of events bringing the Japan government in the spotlight, illegal migration has now become a global subject, with many governments facing backlash from the people, leading to turmoil. Bureau Report, DD India.
Back to the story of the crash reported earlier around afternoon time in Bangladesh. Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, expressed deep shock at the loss of lives in an aircraft crash in Dhaka. Prime Minister Modi, in a social media post on X, has condoled the loss of lives in the Bangladesh jet air crash. In a post, Prime Minister Modi said, and I quote him, "Deeply shocked and saddened at the loss of lives, many of them young students, in a tragic air crash in Dhaka. Our hearts go out to the bereaved families. We pray for the swift recovery of those injured. India stands in solidarity with Bangladesh and is ready to extend all possible support and assistance." Kremlin on Monday said that it favors a new round of talks between Russia and Ukraine, but downplayed chances of a breakthrough. This remarks came after Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Saturday said that Kiev has sent Moscow an offer to hold another round of peace talks this week. The two sides met for talks in Istanbul in May and June, but have not yet agreed a date for a third round. An exchange of prisoners was held after the two nations held talks in May and June this year.
From the Russian side, there are no changes in the negotiating team. You know that we are in favor of holding the third round of talks on peace in Ukraine. As soon as we have final idea as to the dates of talks with Ukraine, we will immediately let you know.
Meanwhile, the Kremlin said on Monday that it did not rule out the possibility of a meeting between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump if the Russian and the US presidents were both in Beijing at the same time in September. Kremlin spokesman confirmed that Putin would visit China for events to mark the 80th anniversary of the end of the Second World War, but said Moscow had not heard if Trump planned to go. The Times newspaper reported last week that China was positioning itself to hold a summit between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. Putin and Trump have spoken at least 6 times since Trump returned to the White House in January. The Kremlin said it is in favor of a face-to-face meeting between the two leaders, but this would need careful preparation in order to produce results. Over 100 ambassadors and heads of Ukrainian diplomatic missions from around the world gathered in Kiev for a conference hosted by President Volodymyr Zelensky. The event aims to enhance cooperation between Ukraine and its international partners, promote Ukraine's global interests, and boost diplomatic efforts in key areas. Zelensky has emphasized that diplomatic efforts should focus on 3 primary areas, including arms supplies, reconstruction efforts, and sanctions against Russia. Britain's government will abolish its main regulator of the water industry and create a new single body for oversight of the sector. UK's water regulator, Ofwat, will be abolished as the government has promised the biggest overhaul of water sector since privatisation. Ofwat will be replaced by a new single powerful regulator, which will also take on water-related responsibilities of the Environment Agency. Meanwhile, the privatised water industry in England and Wales has provoked public fury by releasing record levels of sewage into rivers and lakes. This has prompted the Labour government to promise major reforms when it was elected last year.
It is clear that the water industry in this country is broken. Our rivers, lakes and seas are polluted with record levels of sewage. Water pipes have been left to crumble into disrepair. Soaring water bills are straining family finances. Having 4 separate regulators with overlapping and conflicting remits has created a merry-go-round that has failed customers. So today, I can announce that the Labour government will abolish Ofwat.
Iran, Russia and China will meet on Tuesday to discuss Tehran's nuclear program and the risk of sanctions being reimposed under the United Nations snapback mechanism, said Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Ismail Baqir. This comes after Britain, France and Germany, known as the E3, warned that they would reimpose sanctions on Tehran if there was no progress on nuclear talks by the end of August.
Tomorrow, we will hold a trilateral meeting with Russia and China in Tehran at the Director General level to discuss nuclear issues. Naturally, the topic of snapback to commitments will also be among the key subjects under discussion.
Meanwhile, Tehran has blamed European powers for the failure of the 2015 nuclear deal, accusing them of breaking their commitments, which lifted sanctions on Iran in return for restrictions on its nuclear program. The United States withdrew from the pact in 2018. His remarks come ahead of a meeting on Friday in Istanbul between Iranian officials and representatives from Britain, France and Germany to discuss the future of the nuclear deal.
The European parties have been at fault both due to negligence and failure to fulfill their obligations under the JCPOA.
And now let's take a look at other stories making news across the world. In Greece, 5 people were arrested in connection with the killing of a Berkeley professor earlier in July. They appeared in an Athens court. The 5 included the ex-wife of the professor, who has denied any involvement in the case. In Singapore, a local waste company, 800 Super, has pushed ahead with a wider rollout of its smart recycling boxes. More than 8,300 kilograms of materials like metal, plastic and paper have been collected and recycled through these smart recycling boxes. 800 Super is the public waste collector appointed by the National Environment Agency. In Japan's capital city, Tokyo, a marine university has offered visitors a chance to tour one of its campuses on Marine Day. Visitors were allowed to board the ship Meiji Maru to view the vessel's luxurious interior. The ship, once used also by high-ranking government officials, is designated by the government as an important cultural property. You're watching DD India Live, still to come on the show. South Korea is reviewing options to improve ties with North Korea, mulls allowing individual tours to the north. In a first-of-its-kind initiative, Delhi Airport launches Dell Vibes, a cultural experience designed to make travel enriching and memorable. And India to host 2025 Chess World Cup in October-November this year, announces FIDE.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature rich heritage and colorful culture.
Johar. अरे it fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout हो गया.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Vietnam braced for Typhoon Vifa on Monday as coastal provinces were placed on emergency alert and airlines cancelled flights ahead of the storm's expected landfall early on Tuesday. The typhoon is forecast to bring powerful winds and heavy rainfall, raising the risk of flash floods and landslides in northern Vietnam's mountainous areas. Vietnam's Prime Minister put coastal provinces on emergency footing for Typhoon Vifa, saying it could cause flooding and landslides. He also ordered all fishing boats, cargo ships and tourist vessels to return to shore and urged the evacuation of people in high-risk areas. Storms drenched southern parts of mainland China on Monday, causing flash floods and snarling traffic a day after Typhoon Vifa pounded Hong Kong. Heavy rain continues to lash southern province of Guangdong after the storm system made landfall on Sunday. Heavy rainfall is forecast to continue across coastal regions in South China until Tuesday morning, with warnings issued for flash floods, landslides and strong winds. Typhoon Vifa had weakened to a tropical storm upon landfall and forecasted to skirt the coast of Guangdong and move southwesterly towards Vietnam. South Korea is studying various plans to improve relations with North Korea, a spokesperson for South Korea's Unification Ministry said on Monday. In response to a media report that Seoul is considering allowing individual tours to North Korea, Koo Byung-sam, a spokesperson for the ministry that handles inter-Korea affairs, said that he understood individual tours were not in violation of international sanctions.
The government is establishing and pursuing North Korea policies with the aim of easing tension on the Korean peninsula and improving inter-Korean relations, and is looking into various plans.
Some good news ahead about India and US's space collaboration. ISRO, in a social media post on X, informed about the upcoming historic launch to jointly launch NISAR with NASA on 30th July at 1740 hours Indian Standard Time. ISRO's GSLV F-16 will launch NISAR, the first joint Earth observation satellite by ISRO and NASA from Sriharikota. NISAR will scan the entire globe every 12 days, providing high-resolution, all-weather, day and night data. It can detect even subtle changes in Earth's surface like ground deformation, ice sheet shifts and vegetation dynamics. The mission will support many critical applications, including sea ice monitoring, ship detection, storm tracking, soil moisture changes, surface water mapping and disaster response. It will be a milestone in over a decade of collaboration between ISRO and NASA. On to updates from India's parliamentary proceedings. The monsoon session of India's parliament began today and will continue till 21st of next month with a total of 21 sittings. The lower house paid tributes to the innocent lives lost in the horrific Pahalgam attack and to the victims of the Air India crash in Ahmedabad. The house also paid tributes to the lives lost in floods due to incessant rainfall. In the upper house, the Minister for Civil Aviation, K. Ram Mohan Naidu, informed that the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau, AAIB, follows a definitive rules-based process and is totally unbiased in probing the Air India plane crash. He further added that this is the first time that a black box has been decoded in India.
We have our own investigation body, which is the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau, which got into the investigation process right after the incident with the subject experts into the site, and they have started their process according to the international protocol, and they have involved subject matter experts, all the international necessary people who are supposed to be participating in the investigation, and they have gone through the first set of investigation process and they have given us the preliminary report. It was for the first time that as a country, India took a stand that the black box which was achieved, even if it was damaged, that the whole decoding process is going to happen in the country, and we have successfully done it in the country. To have a definitive answer and a definitive future correction measures, we have to look at the final report, sir. And I can say this to the House and through you to the people of this country also, that the AIB has a very definitive, thorough, rule-based process. They are very transparently looking into the process right now, and they are totally unbiased. This also I can say that the AIB is totally unbiased and looking into the facts.
Further, an Air India Airbus A320 flight veered off the runway as it landed during heavy rain at the Mumbai International Airport on Monday. This briefly shut the runway and damaged the underside of one of the plane's engines. All passengers and crew members have since disembarked. Air India flight AI 2744 had flown from Kochi in southern Kerala to Mumbai. There have been minor damages reported to the airport's primary runway, and a secondary runway had been activated to ensure operational continuity. Air India clarified through a statement confirming this incident. The statement read, Flight AI 2744 operating from Kochi to Mumbai on 21st of July 2025 experienced heavy rain during landing, resulting in a runway excursion after touchdown. The aircraft taxied safely to the gate and all passengers and crew members have since disembarked. The aircraft has been grounded for checks. The safety of passengers and crew remains our top priority. This was the official statement of Air India after a jet skidded off the Mumbai runway. Now, the New Delhi International Airport has launched Dell Vibes, a unique initiative showcasing India's music, dance and crafts. Passengers can now enjoy live performances, hands-on workshop and a calming cultural experience, turning their wait time into a soulful discovery and making the airport a true gateway to India's heritage.
At Delhi's Indira Gandhi International Airport, waiting for your flight just got a whole lot more soulful. In a pioneering move, Delhi's International Airport Limited has unveiled Dell Vibes, India's first ever airport initiative that transforms travel into a cultural experience. Imagine walking through the terminals and being greeted by the rhythmic grace of Kathak or Bharatanatyam.
I am surprised seeing this Indian kind of music. It is very cleanly elevating the culture of Delhi, and I am very happy and I am mesmerizing by this listening a beautiful melodious music.
जो इंडियन कल्चर को इन लोगों ने प्रमोट किया है बहुत अच्छा है, बहुत सुंदर गीत है। फॉरेन से जो लोग आ रहे हैं तो उस सब लोग देखेगा कि इंडियन कल्चर क्या है।
The soothing strains of the sitar, santoor or sarangi, or even trying your hand at the traditional craft. Every day between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. passengers can enjoy spellbinding dance performances lasting 10 to 15 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes of Indian classical music as well. Dell Vibes build on Delhi Airport's tradition of celebrating Indian art, from the iconic mudra sculptures and Surya Namaskar statue to murals and exhibitions that showcases India's living heritage. Tapush Bhattacharya's report, Today India.
And time now for some sporting action. The Indian contingent clinched 10 medals at the ranking series wrestling competition in Hungary. India wrestlers won 3 gold, 3 silver and 4 bronze medals in Budapest. Sumit won the silver medal in the 60 kg Greco-Roman category. He was beaten by European champion Nihat Mamadle of Azerbaijan. Anil Moore won the bronze medal after beating I. Botirov of Uzbekistan. The Budapest leg was the 4th and final wrestling ranking series of the year. The points will help wrestlers earn better seeding for the 2025 World Wrestling Championships, which will be held in Croatia in September. On to cricket now. Injury troubles continue to mount for the Indian team as Nitish Reddy and Arshdeep Singh have been ruled out of the 4th test against England. All-rounder Reddy, pacers Arshdeep Singh and Akashdeep suffered injuries while training for the Manchester test, which begins on Wednesday. The all-rounder has been ruled out of the remainder of the series and will fly back to India for recovery. Arshdeep has been ruled out of the 4th test and his progress will be monitored. Selectors have added fast bowler Anshul Kamboj and retained Akashdeep in the squad for the final 2 tests. The 4th test is vital for India as hosts England lead the 5-match series 2-1. And chess's global governing body FIDE has announced that India will host the World Cup from the 30th of October to 27th of November this year. FIDE added that the host city will be named later. The tournament will feature 206 players in a knockout format, with the top 3 earning spots in the 2026 Candidates Tournament, which determines the challenger for the World Chess Championship. Since 2021, the World Cup has followed a single elimination format. Each round is held over 3 days. That includes 2 classical games. It is followed by tie breaks on the 3rd day if needed. That's all for this edition of DD India Live. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live. And you can also download our DD India mobile app for quick news and updates on the go. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.